And then you carry out monitoring of websites. Now, websites are monitored in two manners. So if you're checking your website, you do something called passive monitoring and synthetic monitoring. Now, passive monitoring is also called real use monitoring. Real user monitoring means you're actually checking what the user will do with an application. Okay. And you're checking that everything is going right. Okay. Now, this is something like where the application monitoring team is sitting and seeing each and every transaction which is happening. And if something goes wrong, they go and investigate that. Whereas in synthetic monitoring, what is happening is they are actually simulating the user and trying to see whether the application is working properly. This will generally be done in a test environment. The real user monitoring is done on the production environment. Okay, because this is real user, right? This is what is happening live. So this is how websites are monitored. Okay. Now, how do you implement? Now, for testing, you need some kind of data, right? You have to, if you want to test something, you need data. So how do you get it? So first thing to test in a security environment is logs. Okay. Unless you have logs of what is happening in your environment, you cannot do anything. So if you look at cybersecurity process, the entire cybersecurity process is based on logs. Okay. So logs provide you the evidence of what is going wrong. Okay. Till around 15 years back, I think at least 12 years back, everything was done using log review and softwares which could correlate logs. Okay. And then the next level of correlation of logs. So first it was reading logs line by line. I remember, I remember we had teams who used to sit and read logs, line by line. Then from there, it went to log review softwares. Okay, the softwares came which give you a simple analytic tool about logs. And then the next level came of SIEM, Security Incident and Event Monitoring software, which gave you visual dashboards and made your task easier because the logs which used to come even still are in, I will say thousands per second, thousands per minute. There's so much of logs which come. So it's humanly impossible to go through each line of code, and you need tools which can ease your life. And that's where SIEM systems help you in reviewing logs and give you an early detection of any issues in your environment. When you are doing security testing, account management, review of accounts is very, very important. Major aim of reviewing accounts is to monitor for privilege creeps. Now, account management is basically done so that twofold. Internal threats are reduced. If you don't have proper account management, you will see that internal threats increase. Okay. Say you are in cloud and you don't have any control, you will see that people are using your cloud account for creating resources inside. Okay. Then second thing that comes is your if you have proper account management. Second thing is obviously you will not have privilege creeps. This again belongs to third internal threats. Second thing is in case there is a attack and there is a compromise, what happens is the hacker may not get escalated accounts. Okay, so if you have proper account reviews and you keep these privileges to the minimum, say my account is hacked and the hacker has my account details and I have minimal privileges on the environment, he can't do much. Okay, he cannot use. But if my administrator account is hacked, that look at the kind of damage which will happen. And that's why account review is very, very important. Also, privileged accounts need to be monitored much, much more deeply, because we are not monitoring privileged account and your people who are managing administrator accounts are callous in nature. You don't need to hack anything. You just need to do a social engineering attack on the guys who have administrator privileges. Now, hackers, most of the time, they do not carry some state-of-the-art attack and penetrate your networks. They do the least state-of-the-art attack, which is social engineering, to find who is an administrator. Okay, I'll go on LinkedIn, I'll check the profile of a person and then try to trap that person in a social web so that I'm able to get administrator access. Right. And Then you also need to test your disaster recovery. This is the most overlooked part of an organization, because disasters don't happen very often, right? Since disasters don't happen very often, if you do not have a proper testing methodology for your disaster recovery and business continuity, you might have a process, BCP process, you have implemented it, but if you're not testing it, if you're not testing your backups and restoring from your backups, you will see that the time when it comes to restore from backups, those backups are not available only. Okay. So that's why periodic restoration process from your backups is very, very important. Okay. So this is important as far as you're testing your business continuity and disaster recovery process is concerned. And finally, training and awareness plays a very, very important role in security testing. You need to test your employees, train them, and see that the training which has been given to them meets the requirement of what the organization is supposed to have. So how do you train your employees? You do testing by phishing simulations, you send them phishing emails, you send them whatever they are vulnerable to, you try to test that on your users, right? And finally, the only way you can test a large organization, a small organization may not need KPIs and KRIs, but a large organization, since number of vulnerabilities are very high, number of risks are very high, you need to have certain numerical ability to define your performance and risk. And that is done by something called KPIs and KRIs. KPIs give you the performance indicators, KRIs give you the risk indicators. Okay. So some few parameters which could be there in your KPIs and KRIs are, open vulnerabilities, time to resolve, defect recurrence, software flaws, audit findings, malicious user. But why is it required? Because you cannot humanly track unless you have some performance or a risk metric. Okay. So I'm done with domain 6. If you have any questions, please ask. Now is the easy part, right? Now you feel the pressure of?
No, this is quite easy. Interesting. It's like walkthrough. That's it.
These are all walkthroughs. Till domain 8, it is walkthrough. 5, 6, 7, 8 are walkthroughs.
First, second, third is like we have to sit and again.
First and second is still okay. Third and fourth, I feel.
Yeah,
For those
sorry.
who are not from the network background, feel third and fourth as a big pinch. First and second is more of a generic management perspective. You can generally cope with one.
A lot of factual questions come when it comes like what is that rule, what is in that policy particularly. So
No, that you will not. You have to understand the broad process. If the broad process is clear, then but nobody asks you. I will tell you one thing about CISSP. If you see that you have to remember something, just take it that this is not going to come. Okay. So wherever you see that you have to remember a lot of data and number crunching and rules and policies, that is just that is the journey. Okay. That is the journey. You do not click pictures at the entire journey, right? The journey gets imbibed in you. You take pictures of few, important places in a trip. You do not record the entire journey, right? So CISSP, this journey is what gets imbibed in you. The questions are asked on your conceptual understanding of the entire journey. Okay, so now is the time, guys, since it becomes a lot easier, please cope up and start answering your questions. Start answering. Is anyone targeting April? I don't think any one of you is targeting April. No one, right? So we take it that you are all going into the 2024 review. Review has got nothing. Okay, reviews are just their namesake. Conceptually, CISSP has remained the same for last 30 years. Okay. Okay, I'm done for the day. Any questions, please ask. Okay, next week we will finish domain 7 and domain 8, and then we will be done with the theory part. Okay. Then I'll have one session with you guys how to handle question answers of CISSP. It's a very simple technique. It's there given on YouTube by a lot of people. Most of the times, whenever you're tackling questions for CISSP, you'll have four distinct choices. You have to straight away, take out two choices. Always take out two choices in any question. If you're very confident, then it's fine. If you're not confident, and the answer look very similar, first you have to take out two, which are just not applicable. You can find that two out. And then out of the best two, select the best one. Second, read a question very, very properly. CISSP is a English exam. It's not a, I'll say it's a lot to do with how good your English is, because it's a web of a little, twisted English, which you need to comprehend and, apply. So the best strategy is rule out.
Rejection looks fine, I mean.
Yeah,
Rejection
rejection.
technique. Yeah.
Yes, you have to do reject two answers. Don't directly apply unless you are very, very confident. That's fine. Okay, once you are very confident about a typical answer, you can apply. But somewhere where you have to apply yourself, reject two answers. Always reject two answers. You are 50% right. Also, CISSP is not necessary that both the answers, out of both the answers, one is wrong. Which of the best? So even if you do wrong, you might get some marks. You don't know. Okay, because it's an adaptive test. So all answers carry some weightage. All the answers might be right. You have to choose the best answer. Best answers weightage will be the highest. If you do this answer incorrectly, that means you understand the concept, but not very well. Okay, so it might have some good weightage, not necessarily you go wrong. And that's why it's important to rule out the answers. Okay.
Maybe the subsequent questions will be like to make
Okay,
you.
and since it's an adaptive exam, if you do this wrong, okay, you chose it wrong. You choose the wrong answer. Now the engine will throw you concepts to test your knowledge in this particular question. The engine adapts. Like I remember for me, GDPR, I had almost 12 odd questions. And I had actually not prepared for GDPR too well. I had almost 10 to 12 questions on GDPR in my exam. I remember distinctively. Okay. So that time GDPR was just introduced in the syllabus. 2018 GDPR was enacted and they got introduced in 2020, I think. So in the 2020 review or 21 review. So GDPR was there in my exam set a lot. Data protection officer, data controller, and I was like little taken back. I said, why so many questions on GDPR? But at that point in time, since GDPR was in focus, a lot of people said that, okay, I had a lot of questions on GDPR. I had a lot of questions on GDPR. Okay. So maybe that was a trend at that point in time. So there is some trends which are caught on. Now the trend is maybe AI. Okay. So look at some AI threats, look at some AI modeling, because CISSP is, I will say, a general knowledge exam on information security. Okay? So you should have the general knowledge of all the topics and aspects. How many of you are taking CISSP because it's mandatory in your organization that you have to do CISSP? Any one of you? Or somebody has a rider that, for next appraisal, before next appraisal, please get your CISSP. Is there anyone? Just to understand. Right. Okay, guys, I'm done with it. Let's meet next week. Please continue. It's actually not a difficult exam. Its hype is much higher because this exam is costly, to be frank. Okay. If you have adequate experience and you understand the concept, read Cybex even once or twice deeply, do the question sets at the back, understand the concepts, no cramming. Okay. No cramming. Please don't cram. If you are able to debate each and every question, you are ready. There are no indicators. You will feel one day you will feel confident. You will say, oh, I understand why this, why that, why this, why that. Okay. So that is the day you should be able to, give the exam very, very confidently. Okay. But conceptually, if you are not clear, that is a problem. This exam is not CISM. This exam is not CISA. This exam is unique. That's one thing which I can tell. This exam is unique and it tests your conceptual ability. It's a mind-bending exam when you are giving. The best of the guys, I said, but boss, this question made us think. I finished this exam in 50 minutes, but I will say those 50 minutes, I had a complete involvement. Okay. It didn't take me much time, but when I was answering, I was involved. Okay. Whereas when I give AWS Solutions Architect, I was like, okay, fine, this is the answer. Click, 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 click. Right. But when I gave this particular exam, I was involved. I was actually reading and evaluating and applying. So that is what is important for this exam. You have to evaluate, understand, apply. You cannot just say this is right or wrong. Okay. That is the main mantra of this particular exam, right?
Even Cybex exam tips at every last of the chapter is very helpful.
If somebody is only read Cybex carefully, Cybex questions and Cybex third edition, I will say that is more than enough. You don't require Boson, you don't require Thor Peterson, Gwen Betty, blah, 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 nothing. Cybex end questions actually test your concept. And don't repeat these questions. You've done once, whatever you think you have done wrong, understand that concept again, go and give the exam, will pass. But if you don't understand the concept, that is where the problem will be. Okay. And that's why you get into this conundrum of buying Boson, buying this, buying that. Well, okay, that might help because you're giving such an expensive exam, you don't mind spending 2,000-3,000 extra and buying one more exam set. That's okay for your practice. But also you have to get into that reading habit. And because Cybex is such a confusing book, once you start reading it, you actually start making sense when you go for the exam, because Cybex is so confusing. When you go for the exam is also confusing. So that relates. You start reading, because most of us go out of the habit of reading. Okay. So that is the main aspect of CISSP, right? Okay, now is the time you should start applying questions. If you have read your topics, please start doing the questions. Good time to read through questions and understanding, and maybe flashcards if you have been able to log into the Vile book. Okay, then you have flashcards also on that portal. Okay. LearnZap, I recommend buying for 1 month prior to the exam. Don't waste money unnecessarily. Once you are ready, you have booked the exam, go and buy LearnZap for a month. 1 month subscription is around, I think, 1,300 or something. You can practice. There are 700 odd questions. Okay. And I feel Boson, LearnZap, and Cybex third edition as practice tests are more than enough. Okay. But how to mark yourself? Do the questions wherever you're going wrong. Those are your weak areas. Refresh your weak areas so that you're ready. Do not reattempt questions again and again, because that will give you a false confidence that you know the question, and you will have a habit of remembering the answers, which is bad for application. And I had two students who went. One guy listened to me what I said, and the other guy got into a habit of redoing questions again and again. He failed the first time. He passed the second time, but he failed the first time. So don't have a habit of reading, reattempting the questions again and again. Okay, that's all for the day, guys. Let's meet next Saturday. Next weekend, we'll be able to wrap up the entire Domain 7 and Domain 8. Okay, take care. Bye-bye, and thank you. Any questions there, you guys can get in touch with me anytime. I generally reply on WhatsApp. Okay, so anytime you need any help, just let me know. Okay. Right. Take care. Bye-bye. Good evening.
Bye, sir. Good night.
Good evening, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye. Bye.